one of the things that I wanted to do, and obviously, I mean, for generating this document, I got help from Gemini to give me ideas. But the document that you see here is vastly different from what Gemini created. I had to try out examples and, change some of the topics and change examples and move things around. But that's essentially what you're supposed to do with AI, right? I mean, you ask AI, maybe you do some brainstorming first and then get one first draft, but you should be in the driver's seat. You should be the one in control. You should be the one who steers the conversation and tries to get what you want from the AI. And essentially, I mean, what I wanted to do, you can read this, in more detail later, but the idea here was I did not want to go over some of the usual things, which I assume everybody is doing, right? I mean, document summarization. I mean, that's something that I assume all of you are doing. If you're not, you should. You should be doing that, document summarization, improving your writing. And in the executive summaries that you have submitted and I've given you feedback, a number of you, maybe six, seven, maybe 10, I didn't keep track of how many, but in a lot of your writings, when I read a paragraph and I see that it's not that clear or it's scattered, it's not organized and stuff, I use the Gemini, the pro version that the university has that doesn't leak information to the public. And in some cases, if I was worried that specific information from your company is being fed to Gemini, I would change things, right? So I do remember there was one case that the student was talking about the heart and the valves, and stent and stuff. I changed that to plumbing. So I said that in my work I need to do plumbing, and then some of these pipes are clogged, so we put new valves on it and stuff. So it's not leaking any information about the medical device company and the specific projects that they have, but it does reorganize the text. It does rewrite things for clarity and so on. And I wrote comments on a lot of your executive summaries that said, try Gemini on this paragraph or on these two sentences and ask it to rewrite for better grammar and clarity and top-down view of things and so on. So this lecture is not about these regular usages of AI and improving text and so on. So what I've done is I've divided it into 5 topics. One topic would be for data cleaning and extraction. So you might have some data in Google Sheets or in Excel. How can you use AI to extract information from it? Not using, really complicated equations and formula that you would put in there, but through text-based queries that you have. And I'll have a demo that I show here. Then the second topic is going to be data analysis. Again, that would use some of these data sheets from Google Sheet, but it could have multiple tabs and data could be cross-referencing, and you could, again, ask it to do complicated things. Then I'll talk about autonomous email agents, and I'll give you one example of something that I set up, and it, checks my email, responds to that if it, musters that filter. And this goes beyond the simple filters that we would have set up in, Gmail and stuff, right? I mean, I have used filters for many, many years that says if the sender is one of these, put it in the folder that says magazines. If the sender is of these, but those are very, very simple filters, right? So you want something that would read the content of your email and based on that decipher what is the ask, what is the top? Should I categorize it as, I'm asked, and should I take action? I'll show you a number of examples of it working really nicely. Then the fourth topic is AI code generation. And this is the part that I had the most disagreement with what Gemini suggested. So Gemini was saying, okay, these students are co-op students from different majors, mechanical engineer, chemical engineers, and so on. But everybody should be able to code, and they should be able to do connect to a GitHub repository and code that is multiple files. And I say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. That's too complicated. That's probably not you are doing in this class and at the companies that you're working on. So I completely took that off, and I am going to show you one example from my recent interactions that I, as a coder, was impressed of, what it did. And finally, the last topic is RAG, retrieval augmented generation. That I'm going to show you examples. Now, I have to preface that by saying I apologize to some of you who already might be ahead of the game and doing some of these topics. So some of these topics might be boring for you, but bear with us. And if you have anything to share, feel free to unmute yourself, jump in, tell us about the experience that you've had and the kinds of things that you have done. Now, this document, we are not going to go over all of it. And Gemini has suggested a number of tools. I've picked in each topic, I've picked one tool, and the demo that I have only looks at one, but you could set it up, for example, with Copilot. So I'm showing you how to do it with Gemini within Google Sheets, but you could do Copilot within Excel and, whatever your organization has or whatever you want to try. Any questions before we jump in? Okay, so topic one, inline AI functions within Google Sheets. And essentially, what I want to do here is I want to be able to look at unstructured data, right? So and I assume everybody has opened this document on your computer so you could follow what I'm going through. So let me stop sharing this document and instead um, show you the Google Sheet that has that unstructured data. Um, all right, share mm, topic one. Okay, so if you look at, let me see how I can increase the size. Okay, so if you look at this, and for now, just ignore this column. Let's take a look at this. So maybe you have some log coming from one device, one equipment, or maybe multiple equipments, and it could potentially be unstructured. I made up all of these, right? I mean, this is just one example. So, I mean, one error log could be error 404 on pump 2 at 3 p.m. Pump 1 overheated, shutdown initiated. Thermistor reading 0C shutting down. I mean, that was the error that I got, for example, with my 3D printer. And, the thermistor was wrong, the sensor that senses the temperature on the bed. And it's potentially critical because if it can't read the temperature, there could be a positive feedback that it keeps warming up, warming up, warming up. There's fire hazard and stuff. So that's one. Temperature readout out of range of skipping data. Error 560, water container near empty, pump 2 not starting, and so on and so forth, right? So these are really unstructured. These are things that you can't possibly write any equations or any formula in Excel or Google Sheet to be able to do that, right? So what I am doing based off of the Gemini suggestion is that I'm creating this field here. In this cell, I'm writing this equal AI. How can I do it so that you can see it easily? Um, oops. So basically, what I'm doing here is I'm saying the value of this equal AI, and then in parentheses, let me see how I can magnify this. Okay, let me maybe put it. Yeah, okay. So this is the one that I'm putting in there, right? I'm saying that this cell B2, right? So this cell up here, B2 equals AI, and an open parenthesis, double quotes, classify this log into critical, warning, or info, and output only the category word. And I give it the range, the input range. So the range here is A2. So remember, I'm talking about this cell up here, right? I'm talking about this cell. So in cell B2, this is what I'm writing. I'm saying that use A2 as my input, and then this prompt is the AI that I want to use, and then output what it is. And once I do that, then I can just drag this cell and copy the same formula across all of these. And then it takes time. It does some thinking and it says generating output, and then it generates these. And based on what he's reading about the error message, it says that this is critical, this is warning, this is warning critical, and info. So in my case, I did not have any info logs. I should have put one, but that didn't work. Any questions before I talk more about this? Okay. Now, one thing that I should tell you is I could not do this on my UMN account because UMN, even though we do have subscription to Gemini, but they have not enabled Gemini within um, within the Google Sheets and stuff. So what I ended up doing, so when you write code like this, it would give you a warning and it doesn't do it because I'm in my UMN account, right? So what I ended up doing was I shared my personal Gmail account. I shared this document with myself in my personal email account. And my personal email account, I purchased the pro subscription, $5 a month, and after a while it would bump it up to $20 a month. So that gave me the feature to use AI with it. So the document is still hosted by UMN. It's on my UMN Google Drive, but since I'm sharing it with my personal, which does have the Google Pro enabled for it, and then this Gemini icon appears. Can everybody see the Gemini icon here? Is it sharing the right document? Yeah. So basically, when you click on this, then this opens up, this pane opens up, and also then you could do things like, equal AI, and it's going to run things and so on. And essentially, then I can have that data in there, right? Now, in the document that you downloaded from Canvas, it does give you examples of how to do it with GPT, GPT for work within Microsoft Excel, and also the link to tutorials. Let me maybe stop sharing and show you actually. So I was again, this is another example of me disagreeing with what Gemini suggested. Is that the examples that Gemini was giving were not that good. So what I did was I myself looked for examples and tutorials that would do that would give you a good range of examples. And then do click on this, use the AI functions in Google Sheets, and there's a section that says examples, example usage, and it would give you different prompts that say, how to deal with the data and so on. And this one is going to be a tutorial for the GPT for work if you want to do it with Excel. I haven't tried this one. I haven't tried this link. So use it. If you try it and you see that the link is not good, if you have other suggestions, please do reach out to me and let me update this document for future semesters. Although AI is moving so fast that maybe next semester that I want to offer this course, this might be outdated and I need to redo it. All right. Any questions on topic number one? All right. Either use thumbs up. Let me see what reactions do you have. So in terms of you having used this feature, do let me see what you have. Okay, so do either the green check mark or do the red cross that says, have you used this feature before or not? And I want everybody to participate. So Graham hasn't used it, Ruth hasn't, Molly hasn't, Sainab hasn't. Okay. Oh, Abigail has used it. Okay, good, good. All right. And I don't know if your companies let you use AI in your workspace or not, but I mean, try it on your personal, Gmail accounts and so on, because these are useful, right? I mean, these are things that maybe your current employer doesn't let you or discourages using of these AI tools, but maybe the next employer would really like it to see that you have used these and you know how to work with them and so on. Okay, all right. Thank you for the reactions. Let me then move on to the next example. And the next example, I'm using the same, setup, but the next example is more complicated. So in the next example, and let me share this topic. This application is out of date. Reload. Okay. Let me share topic two. Okay. So in this example, then the data that we have is much more complicated. And, there is this tab that says stress test data. And then I have another tab that says material reference. And this says, that the material type is this, the density, grams per, centimeter cube is this much, and so on. And then the test data is telling you, how long, cycles to failure, how much it was. And it has the data and the failure mode. It tells you that it's high cycle fatigue, plastic deformation, and stuff. By the way, this is all randomly generated. I asked, Gemini just create data for me, but, keep it as close to reality as possible for my class. And this has 1,000 rows, 1,000 failure modes. And what we'll do is again, I have to switch to my personal account because my UMN doesn't allow me to use that AI sidebar. So let's say, okay. All right. So if I click this, Gemini sidebar, it's going to give me this. And now, I mean, what I can do is I can ask a really complicated question. And the question that I have is identify the top three material types most susceptible to thermal failure above 180 degrees C and generate a stacked bar chart displaying their average cycles to failure. So this is going to take a while, but I want you to see the process. Okay. And by the way, the question that I have is on that document that I shared on Canvas. So let me copy it and paste that prompt here. So here I put that, identify the top three material types, blah, blah. So look at what it's, am I sharing it? Am I sharing the right document? I suppose. I hope I am. Can everybody see this sidebar that says defining data headers, analyzing failure data, and so on? Can someone unmute and say if you see that?
Yep, we can see it.
You do see it? Okay. All right. So, I mean, it does some thinking here, and it basically tells you that, yes, I'm analyzing the data, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and so on. And this is interesting that it did not. Maybe it's still working because last time I tried it, it said, do I have permission to create a new tab and add the data and add the graph and so on? So yeah, but so this is different. This time it's just showing me in these boxes that this is the one that I have created, and here it gives me the option of preview and then insert. Let me see if it's asking for any permissions. Yeah, so it's asking, insert and so on. So yeah, the interface is different this time, but I think it's doing the same thing, right? So this then created the graph exactly as I told it to, right? I mean, so this the stress test data. Let me go back. So test data has, I think, four or five different materials. And then it did go through all of this data, looked at the averages of them, one by one. And then it created this chart which had three of them. I mean, you could have done this. I mean, this probably would have taken you like 15 minutes or 20 minutes to do. But with the AI, agent, you can do it very quickly. But it's really, really, really important to go back and double check that, if it did it correctly or not. But, this is the data. This could be a really good start for you to build, more complicated stuff on top of it. Um, so in this case, unlike the first example that it had to just the role of AI in the previous example was just to understand complicated, unstructured language, right? This one has basically a plan, right? I mean, it says that I'm first going to go through this tab that is going to look at this data, and then the formula that it uses, you could check, and then it would ask for your permission. Can I create a new tab? And then it would add the data based on that. And if you want, I mean, you could add some, questions that says now test the data, verify, validate that, what you did is correct in this step and so on. But again, I mean, it creates that very nicely for you. And I assume you could use interact with it more and say the formatting, change the formatting, do this or that. It should be able to do that kind of a stuff. And that's going to be a powerful tool that helps you move very quickly on generating data and so on. Any questions on this one? And I assume if I take a poll of, who has used this, in the previous example, maybe two or three of you had used it. So my guess is here, maybe one or two have used these complicated features of, Gemini within your Google Sheet. And again, in the document that you have, it shows you, maybe I should share. Okay, so other examples of tools that maybe you can use to do it. Camel AI is a commercial tool. I haven't tried it. I just, very quickly looked at tutorials, YouTube videos and stuff that looked at how it works and so on. It is outside of, Google Sheet and Excel, but you could give it a try. I don't know how good or bad it is, but Gemini suggested we check it out. And again, with the Microsoft, you could do that as well. You could use Copilot in Excel. I haven't tried it. I'm more comfortable with Gemini, but definitely those of you who do use Excel and want to try Copilot, let me know how things went and if you like that tutorial. And again, if you have better tutorials, you could give it to you could send it to me. I could add it to what we have. All right. Any questions on this topic? All right. So I'm excited about this third topic, which is building an autonomous AI email agent. Obviously, check with your company if they're okay with you doing that, and connecting your email to it. So let me show you um, Zapier. I think that's how they pronounce it. Let me share a screen with you. So the instructions in that document that I shared with you says create an account with Zapier, and let me see if I can go to home. Um, You just go to zapier.com. So when you create an account on Zapier, then it asks you to log in. I use my, Google credentials to log in. And then one of the things that it would ask you is what kind of tools do you use and what do you want to connect, right? I'm not going to walk you through that process. It's, pretty intuitive. And then you could even ask in the support section of it, you could say, how can I connect my Gmail to it? But the thing that I did here was I connected my Gmail account from kia@umn.edu. I connected that. So that means that this Zapier and all the AI agents that it has, it talks to your Google account, gets the authentication, it gets access to your email, and that's dangerous. Bad things could potentially happen. But once you connect your Gmail account to it, then you could go into the agents. So here you can see agent. You could click on that agent. And one thing that you could do is you could, in this, describe your workflow area. What I used was, and I have copied that into that document that I shared with you. Let me copy paste it here so that everybody can the same um, see it within the same screen. Okay, so here's what I asked it to do. I said monitor my Gmail inbox, looking for new incoming email to kia@umn.edu. If the sender is asking for re-evaluating their grade without reference to errors in grading, draft a polite reply pointing to the syllabus outlining no grade upgrade request for extra work or for no valid reasons. If the email references missing grades or an error in grading, tag it as urgent escalation and draft an email saying the regrade request will be considered CCRTA arno@umn.edu. That's a fake email. And also create an internal Slack alert if the Slack app is connected. Now, I did not connect my Slack app, but I just put that in the prompt to show you this is not just something that only works within one app, right? I mean, this is not just email and handle it through Gmail emails. That you could connect it to Slack, you could connect it to themes, whatever other tools that you have. You could ask it to do stuff. And once you do that, right, and then you say you start building, let me not do that. I don't want to rebuild it. Then it would give you a number of options, right? I mean, it says warning, you haven't set up your Gmail, or warning, your Slack is not connected, and so on. And then you click on those options, and each of those options is going to show you that do you want to use your own template for the body of the email that I'm going to respond, or do you want me to pick that? And in most of those options, I chose you pick it. Except in one option, it says, do you want to choose one of your labels from your mailbox? From your emails, and I did say yes, let me choose. And because it has access to my Gmail account, it does go talk to it. It brings in all the labels. So I chose the label co-op slash CSE 4996 so that it would tag those emails with this label so that I know, how to work with it. Now, let me, instead of showing you demos live here, I did, keep sending my email from my personal email to my UMN email. So let me stop sharing here and show you just screen grabs that I did to show you how it works. And let me move this to a bigger screen. All right, so share Gen AI. All right. So here is when I was testing it. This is so on the left, you can see what I was seeing on this Zapier output on the Zapier window. And this is, one example that I mentioned, right? I mean, if we have and let me see if I can turn on the laser pointer. So here you can see that it says fixed setup error, right? And I eventually said just delete it from my script, from my agent. I don't want to use it. But this basically says it's understanding of what the tool is going to do. So this is rewriting what you said, and it has the steps one, two, three, and says the trigger is going to be a new incoming email. And a number one, monitor the Gmail, the inbox. Two, when a new email arrives, read and analyze the context. Check if the email is about grade evaluation and stuff, so on and so forth, right? So this is an example output, again, within Zapier window that says, yes, I said test it. I said run it as a test, and says that the email is from Linda, from whatever that I've redacted, with the subject re-forward ODAT grant question. And it says that this is what it is talking about. It tells you about the ICR account details, budget calculation, and so on. So this email is not a grade evaluation. So complete. I did not take any action. I did not touch this, email, and I did not have to do anything with it, which is correct, right? I mean, it correctly identified that this is not about regrade, so it just, ignored it. Then in the second example, I used my personal email, sent an email to myself saying that, hey, I was checking my final grade and, you have given me a B plus, but because my cumulative grade is so close to the A minus threshold, would it be possible to bump me up to an A minus, and that would help me with my scholarship and maintaining my grade and so on. So again, when you come back to the agent, it says that yes, I looked at it and see these check marks that says yes, I do identify that this is about grade related. The subject is final grade, and it correctly identified that in the email I was asking upgrade from B plus to A minus, but it says that no specific grading error or missing grade mentioned in it. So it says that decision, this is a request without a valid, and then it said that I'm going to compose email. But the good thing about this tool is that it doesn't just send out the email without you not knowing, right? It composes the email, and this is from my um, draft box in my UMN email, and it basically says that hi student, my end name happens to be Kia on my personal email. So thank you for reaching out regarding your final grade. I appreciate you sharing, but based off of the circumstances outlined in the syllabus, I cannot grant that request and so on. And that was it, right? So it was in the draft sitting there for me to send it. So I could just go in there and read it and double check that it's doing the work correctly, and then based on that, I could just delete that draft, or I could say yes, hit send, and it would send out, from my inbox. And then output example three is one with valid reason. So this third example, what I did was I sent an email from my personal email to, Kia at UMN, and then I said that, hey, I did, and the subject of that was attendance. The subject you did not talk about grade at all. And essentially it said that, hey, I did attend such and such, or I watched a video of such lecture and I emailed the TA, but now I noticed that it wasn't, the grade wasn't put in there. And I said, could you look into it, right? So it didn't explicitly say regrade, right? But it says, look into it and so on. And it correctly identified that this is a missing grade, and applied the urgent escalation label to it. And then CCing Arno as the TA there, and basically put it in my draft box. And this again is the draft box that I have, and it says, "Hi, student, thank you for doing it. We will consider this, and we will work together to resolve this issue." Again, I didn't write any of this text of the email, right? I mean, I let the agent compose the email, and I'm happy with the text of the email that they had. And in fact, I checked that in my inbox box, when I look at the email, I do check that indeed it did add that label of co-op slash CSE 4996 very correctly. So it is categorizing my email as well, right? So this goes, way beyond, the way that we used to process email and do categorize things and send different emails to different folders. This is really taking action, and this could save you a lot of time. And most importantly, I mean, you could write agents that would tell you, hey, this is critical. You've missed this email, and your boss is asking you this and that, and that would really help you, right? My wife gave an example to me from the previous company that she was working at. We took a trip, right? We took a 1 week trip to somewhere, and when she came back, she asked, I think Copilot was the one that they were using. And Copilot in their company was connected to their Slack, to their, Microsoft tools and stuff. It was connected to, I don't remember if they use Zoom or others, but it was connected to the meetings as well. So when she came back, she said, what did I miss? What are the most important things that I missed? And then the AI tool was able to go through meeting notes. It was going through her emails, and then it said that, hey, categorizing based on criticality, you're due for that training on whatever, and then you have to do that training. You have 48 hours to finish that. And then it said that your boss in that meeting mentioned that they would give you this task to work on. And then in the email, there's a follow up from your boss or teammate that says, hey, I need to do this. This is urgent. You need to do this. And then it said, you got a bunch of emails about, the Society for, Engineers in something, something. You can ignore those if you don't have time. So very clearly it gave it a document that cross-linked different things from the meetings, from the email, from, the tasks that they were supposed to work on. So this really could save you a lot of time and a lot of trouble. So look into it. Again, here I'm not advertising, Zapier. I just, started because of this lecture. I started playing around with it. I happen to like it. I'm probably not going to continue my subscription. Right now, I'm using the free version of it. So don't don't take that as my encouragement and an endorsement of these tools. And I'm sure, I mean, new tools will come up, and there could be some better tools out there that you could use. But I just wanted to show you the possibilities, the types of things that you could do that would help you with the workflow. Any comments or any similar experience? All right. Now, again, I want to get a sense of, how you have used these tools. So, using the reactions, again, the green check mark or the red dot. Tell me if you are using these agents in your work for checking your email and, automatic responding or connecting your meeting notes and stuff. No, 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 no. I thought people would be using more, so I'm surprised to see so many no's. Abigail, are you saying no? Are you saying yes from the previous question, or this is a new green check mark? Okay, it is not. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So just know that it's out there, and chances are your organization doesn't even let you connect to these tools, but they might have some tools themselves. Learn these. Again, these are really good skills, and your future employers would be impressed if they know that you have these skills and you can do things. All right. So topic four, moving on, and I won't spend too much time on topic four, but just wanted to give you an example from my own experience, right? So I myself, I'm a programmer, right? I mean, I write code, and I've done 20, 30 years of coding, and I did start using AI code. Starting, I think, 2 years ago or so. I was not impressed. Especially, I mean, coding, AI for coding is really, really good for things that people find tons of examples. online, right? Things like setting up a web page or, writing a Python script to sort a list of numbers or even more complicated stuff. But my work as an electrical engineer is um, working with microcontrollers and circuits and stuff. And AI used to be horrible at that. So I tried it with multiple examples from my work and it couldn't do a good job. It's getting better. So AI is really getting better and better at doing coding, even for microcontrollers and some of the stuff that it wasn't good previously. So last year, I think the demo that I gave to students was writing a Python game, assuming I know nothing about Python. And that Python game was a turkey would randomly, move across the street across the screen on top, and then there is a hunter, with the gun, and then the user would use the cursors to move it left and right and a space to shoot, and shooting the turkey game. And I showed them that the questions that I would ask and the AI would get it wrong, and I would ask it in multiple iterations to fix this bug. It would create a new bug and so on. But I did manage to get it to work for after 6 or 7 iterations. In one step, I really had to use my programmer's skills and my knowledge of Python programming and programming to fix one bug that AI couldn't possibly fix, right? So that was last year or maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember. And things have gotten much, much better. Now, another example that I used AI was a common problem that we professors have, right? I mean, if I have a class of 60 students, I want to know every student by name, right? So I want to be in class and I could say, Charlie, answer this question. And I say, okay, Maggie, tell me, what you think about this and so on. So I wanted a game. I wanted to be able to give the AI tool my class list, and the class list looks like something like, let me show you an example of it. And obviously, I took one existing document from my class, but because of student privacy issues, obviously I can't show you the real names and um, real faces. So what I did was I asked AI, this is not part of the coding. This is what I did just for the demo today. So I asked AI to come up with just use a document similar to what I uploaded to it from a student data. And again, remember I did it on the UMN licensed Gemini, which does not leak information to the public. And for that, we are allowed to upload the student data and so on. That is safe. So AI came up with this. I asked AI to, use random images of people or maybe even AI generated, but I wanted it to generate pictures. Instead, it created these funny drawings, and then it used, these made up names for students. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is that when you look at this document, and if you asked me as a programmer to write code to go grab the pictures, save them as JPEG files, and the file name should be the first name of the student, this is very difficult. This is very complicated to implement such a thing that can read a PDF file and automatically detect where the images are and so on. So the prompt that I had for it, by the way, let me back up. Let me back up. As a programmer, my experience is if you tell AI that I have a PDF document, and based on that PDF document, I want to create a flashcard game that help me learn a student's names, write it for me, it's going to do a horrible job at it. You usually you're more successful if you break a complicated task into smaller chunks and then ask AI to work at each step. You could even ask AI first to give me a plan for implementing this. and then ask it, okay, do step one, do step two. And in each step, you need to iterate back and forth. There are things that it's not going to get right, and you have to tell it that this is the problem. But the beauty of AI coding these days is that it's really good at understanding what the underlying error is and fixing it. Just to give you an example, I mean, I gave it the files, and some of these files, maybe this student is missing, right? Maybe this doesn't have these two images, but the rest of it, is complete. So I told the AI agent that the PDF has multiple pages. Don't just look at page number one. This example only has one page, but multiple pages. And then I said it has multiple pages. In each page, I have a number of rows that I don't know how many, but the pictures are arranged in four columns. So I gave it that information, and then I said that the names of the students appear below it. Go grab images, and then I noticed that it was missing a number of them, right? So I got back to it and I said, hey, you know what you are missing in the images that you exported? You're missing Amado, or and you're missing Fatima, right? And I told it, my guess is you thought that each row is going to be complete, but it's not. But then it said, no, no, no. I found out what the problem is. The problem isn't that. The problem is my logic was based on looking at whatever, whatever, and then its reason was correct, and it was able to fix that problem. And then I said that, remove any other, words that are not knowns. It had some issues, some other bugs, propped up because I don't remember. I mean, maybe there was a word down here that it was, misleading it and so on. So I needed to do 5 or 6 iterations for the AI. But again, I did not touch code at all. I did not even look at the source code that it generated. And also, I mean, it generated the Python code, and I said, how do I run this thing? And it would tell you exactly how to run it. So it says type Python, flashcard, whatever. And I say, I typed Python, but my system said Python is not a recognized command. And it would say, oh, you need to install Python library. Or I would tell it it has this error. It says, okay, here is how you can do, pip install the library and so on. So you absolutely do not need to be a programmer to be able to use it. It will tell you step by step. I've had an issue with a AMD FPGA card that I couldn't get it to work on a Linux system. And I kept asking it questions, and it helped me, walked me through debugging it and recompiling parts of the kernel. Really, really complicated stuff. I mean, if I myself wanted to fix that, it would have taken me a week, 2 weeks at least to do it, but it helped me do it in 2 days. So it has gotten really powerful. It's really getting better and better in understanding the bugs and helping you fix the problems. Okay, so at the end, I asked it to, write code. So remember, I'm doing it in two phases. Phase one, write a program just to get the PDF file, export the images of the students, and it does it like, let me share. And it does it by extracting the student names into the flashcard, and this is the output I get. By the way, I apologize. I've talked too much. Maybe I can give you a break, and then we'll continue with topic number 5. But this is the output of the program. All right. So the output of the program has correctly identified all the images of the students, and then put their first name, Fatima, Erin, and Hiroshi, and so on. By the way, the logic was even more complicated because one of the things that I noticed that in a class of 200 students, there are so many, Georges and so many Adams and so on. So I told it, if two students have the same first name, at the initial of the last names of them. If the initials are the same, at the complete, last name. So the logic really was complicated, and it was able to, do it. And in the second step, I said write code that would allow me to learn these names, and this is how the game should look like, and so on. So when I run the game, um, let me share a screen with what the output is. All right, share. So this is the Python code that it wrote, and it says, "Who's this?" And let me cheat by looking at the images that it created. So this is David, right? So I type in David here, and it says correct, right? One of the things that I told it in your logic, if I get a name wrong, increase the chances of me seeing that, right? And it does that perfectly. So it really does show me that a student, multiple times if I don't learn the name. So this is Lucas with a K, but I'm gonna type it as Lolo, right? And it says wrong. This was Lucas. And then it would show me again, and then keeps showing these until I learn it. And it really was effective. I'm really bad at learning names, but this tool was able to teach me the names, and I was able to, in my class, I was able to, call the students by name. I shared it with my colleagues, and colleagues who are not programmer, they were able to use this tool and they really loved it and so on. So you can program. You don't need to even look at the output of the program that it has. You don't need to know programming in that language. It does fix the errors and it would give you the output that you want. All right, any questions so far? All right, let's let me do a poll. I have topic five, which is RAG, which basically introduces you to Google Notebook LM, and also it would show you how to force AI to look at just the documents that you have. Oh, by the way, sorry, I forgot to do the attendance. Let me just take attendance. So what I want you to do is, uh, sorry. Again, my computer is so slow. What I want you to do is, if you want a break, um, do a red cross. If you want me to continue for another 10 minutes and finish the topic of Notebook LM and RAG, do the green checkbox, and I'll know if I need to continue or give you a break. Um, I did not give you an option to just quit and not come back. So, all right. So attendance. Let me do page one. Okay. So checkbox means continue. All right. Majority of you want to continue. If any of you wants to take a break, take a break. You can watch the video later and cover this last topic. But I definitely do want you to get some experience with Google LM. All right. So let me share a screen with you and Google LM. So Notebook LM is a really powerful tool, again by Google, and you do have access to it, to the pro version of it through UMN. So if you want to get access the same way that you've gotten access to Gemini, in search UMN get access to Gemini or Copilot 365 or Notebook LM. There's a form at the UMN website that says I agree, and there are a number of things that you need to agree to in terms of the use cases and knowing the limitations and the stuff. Once you do that, then you get access to Notebook LM through your UMN account, and that allows you to run multiple jobs on it. Let me go to my webpage, my homepage of Notebook LM. And one of the things that you could do, one of the things that I really love about it is you can drag and drop papers to it. And it could be one paper, it could be multiple websites that you could use. And you could ask it to generate a podcast for you, generate a deck of slides, or the podcast, should it be informative or should it be like a debate? And it's really, really good. I use it for doing a preview of the papers in my area. So let me see if you can hear this. So, for example, I've used this paper, so I have uploaded the PDF for that one paper. But again, this could be multiple documents, and you could do it. And when you say generate, you could say deep dive, you could say brief, critique, debate, and so on. And you could also choose the short length to be short, default, or long. And you hit generate, and it takes a while. It might take 10 minutes, half an hour, or whatever to generate it. But then you could listen to that, audio. And here is, for example, the audio. I don't know if it plays. Let me see. Probably I need to let me stop share. I think I need to do a. There is a box that says share for audio. Share sound. Yeah. So now let me share. Okay. So I'll let you listen to just a few, seconds of it.
I want you to picture a specific scenario for me. It's a contest,
Can you hear the
but
sound or
not the
no?
kind we usually talk about here. We aren't testing poetry generation, and we're definitely not testing.
Oh, I think it's being redirected to my headphone. Can you do thumbs up? Can you hear it?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, good.
Created 10 tokens ago. And that creates what you could call a reasoning drift. The probability of an error just accumulates exponentially with every single step it takes.
And the paper highlights that even with massive test time compute, that's TTC.
Okay, so that should be enough. I mean, this really they really speak in a very natural tone, and it's very engaging, and it really does a good job understanding, what the important points of the paper are and so on. So I'm impressed, and it has been really useful in my own professional work. And I use it as a first filter to see if I want to read a paper in depth or not. This would be a really good thing. And I can listen to these papers on the bus, when I'm driving and so on, when washing dishes and so on. So this has really improved my efficiency in terms of doing some of this work. But so that definitely I suggest that you look into and so on. But what I wanted to show you here is the RAG example that we have used here, right? So here, basically, what I did was I looked on the internet, and the links to these documents are in that PDF file that I put on Canvas. And essentially, what I did was I took the manual for a number of containers that are pressurized containers, and also I gave it the OSHA, some of the chapters about the safety with pressurized vessels. And what I asked it was the prompt was come up with a 5-step procedure if the pressure goes beyond 400 psi. Right. And based on that, it came up with this. And one of the things that it said as was a hazard. I mean, a pressure of 400 psi represents a severe overpressure condition for equipment rated as at 100 psi, right? So it did understand that 400 is too much for this case, but nevertheless it did go through with the step. And one of the suggestions that it had was immediate air supply termination, and it said move that valves that just relieve the pressure and so on. By the way, so in that document I had discussion with classmates these points. Because we are out of time, I mean, I'm not going to do that, but at home do try it with some of the other documents and look at the output that it has. One of the important things that I want you to pay attention to is these footnotes that it puts, right? So it gives you links of where it's getting that information. And this is really critical because you want to make sure that it's not hallucinating, it's not making things up. So you do need to go cross-check things and make sure that, it's not giving you an information, or if it's not misinterpreting something from the document. And believe me, it does, right? I mean, there have been cases that I have caught it doing something ridiculous. So you do absolutely need to check that. Oh, by the way, the other thing that I wanted you to pay attention is I'm saying in my prompt, I'm saying using only the uploaded documents, draft this. And also I'm saying that do professional markdown document and explicitly cite the manual sections used. So this would be really useful if your manager asks you to do something, and if you generate this, you absolutely need to double check and make sure that you validate things. And these links would definitely be the one that would be useful. So one of the things that also I was impressed was, let me see if I can find this. Um, yeah. So depressurized verification, right? This is another step that it says that make sure that the pressure gauge is, reading zero. But it says because the pressure exceeds 400 psi, well beyond the standard 100 psi limit, the technician must remain alert for signs that the gauge or regulator may have been damaged or pegged, potentially providing a false zero reading, right? This was interesting that it could, detect that, but this is not my field, right? So I don't know. I mean, if someone tells you that I have a device that the pressure can be at most 100 and now it's pressurized to 400 psi, my intuition says it should say call fire department, leave the building immediately, do stuff like that, right? So those of you who are in this field, is this set of, 5 steps, does it make sense, or should it just say, forget it, call someone, and this is really, really critical? Can someone who knows unmute and tell us what you think? I suppose nobody knows the answer to that question, but that's a valid question, right? I mean, so the one thing to be really careful with AI is that a lot of times they really don't understand the big picture. They don't understand the context. So we as humans, maybe for us, there's a really red alert and a bell ringing in our head saying, "Get out of here! 400 is not something to mess with." So you do need to be careful about what AI says. But if any of you find the answer to that question, that does this make sense, or with 400 psi, it should just say, don't follow any of these, call someone, and quit. And then as a follow-up question, I asked it, okay, redo the same thing for 100 psi. And then in the 100 psi, it said that yes, this time because it is within the 150. That is the absolute limit for this container. Then you could trust the reading that you're getting from the pressure, and relieve the pressure, wait until you don't hear any hissing sound, and so on. But I do strongly encourage you, if you haven't, or if you are not going to try any of the tools that I showed you here, definitely try Notebook LM. This is one of the better ones, and the most useful in my experience. But try it, especially because you do have access to the pro version of it through the university. If you don't use the pro version, it's still quite usable. But the thing is, at any time, you can only give it one document to work with, and that's basically what you get, and you can't do multiple documents on it. All right, any questions? Any experience that you want to share with everybody else? Okay, all right. Sorry, I talked nonstop for 1 hour, 13 minutes. But as you can tell, I'm excited about this topic, and hopefully you find it useful. If you have any feedback later, if you find something that people use at your work, let me know. I can add that, and we can talk about it more. All right. Any questions? Okay, so again, remember for next session, we're going to ask the question, what worked for you in this co-op? What hasn't worked for you? if you have any questions for your classmates, if there is an issue that you don't know how to solve and you want other people to share experience, let us know. So think about this, and next time I'll try to give some structure to the discussion by posing questions and stuff. But hopefully it's going to be a fun, interactive session. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. This was fun. I'll see you all next week.